We want to welcome you into the 15th episode of Trojan Talk. I'm Zach Tarenko alongside Jeff Christianberry and Cole Purvis. How you guys doing this morning?
Cold, but okay.
Cold, yeah. It's a little bit nicer than it has been normally, but it's still pretty frigid here in Saco, Maine. We want to start by talking about some TA sports last night. We broadcasted the boys basketball loss to Bonnie Eagle, their fourth loss in 5 games. And guys, right now TA's struggling pretty bad, not really working well on offense, defense, not too great either, and just all around. It went from 9-2, really playing well, to now 10-6, and falling down the standings. What is going on with TA right now? What do they need to do before the playoffs start?
I think that it's one of those things when you're in the season, it's tough to kind of gauge what's going on. But when you kind of end the season, I think when they look back at this, they're going to say, this team played as hard as they could, and Coach Davies got as much out of them as possible. I mean, they don't have a superstar on this team. They don't have someone like we've seen the last 2 games, like Bouchard, like the guy from EL. I can't remember his name at this second, but those kind of guys who can score 20 points a night and can put you on their back. And yeah, they have some guys who once in a while will step up, and they have a lot of great role players and some good players. They don't have any great players right now. And I think, of course, like Will Davis can be definitely, and Alicio is going to be a great player. Like this team, I think, is a year away from being a state title contender. Yeah. They're definitely, I think the 4 seed is perfect for where they're going to end up, because I think seeing the other teams, a team like Sanford doesn't have a lot of superstars either, but they're so deep and experienced. So I think what you're seeing now is they're coming a little bit back down to earth. They beat up on the teams they should beat up on, which is great. They've had maybe 1 or 2 losses they shouldn't have, but I mean, in the long 16-game season, you're going to have that. Can they upset someone in the playoffs? Yeah, I think they can play with anybody. I don't think they're going to get blown out by 20 or 30, but you look at last night and the last few games that we've seen, almost all of them now, it's just they continually get down in the first quarter. Like they're just not starting out strong, and when you get down 12, 15 points, they always claw their way back, but they put in so much energy to do that, they kind of run out of steam. So I think when you look back at it, I mean, they've had a great season considering what they came in with, losing so much from last year's team, which probably would have won a state championship, and still with 8 seniors, yet the future looks bright. So it's an interesting transition year. But I'm bullish on them in the future, but for right now, I mean, I think we're just seeing where they really fit, and that's really like the 4th best team in Class AA.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable how they start every game. They start every game down in the first quarter, and it's like a theme of every single game. And then they have to just scrap and claw their way back into the game. And I agree. I think this team is a year away. They can definitely upset anybody in the playoffs. But the good news is, at least for the first round, they're probably going to play a team that they've already beat. And, when Will Davies isn't having his best shooting night, it's tough for them to run their offense. And last night you just saw they gave Bonnie Eagle the lane every single time. I mean, a lot of easy drives for them, and their defense was just not great last night. So it's not a good time to be playing your best, and they got to get it right for the playoffs.
The thing is, too, they love to play the transition game, obviously, very, very fast. And but the problem is they turn the ball over when they do that too much. Yep. And so they're playing kind of the Golden State style, run and gun. Just, guys like Kamari and Anthony Jones love to shoot the 3. But again, as Cole said, when they're not making them, it's really frustrating to watch when they're turning the ball over and then missing 3s. So it's tough. They're kind of caught in 2 different places.
Yeah, well, now I'm going to switch over to the other boys basketball game we did just, I think it was last Tuesday or Friday. I think it was the Friday before.
Yep.
Was the
Thursday.
Thursday. It was the Edward Little game, which was absolute
chaos.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, there was issues with the Edward Little coaches and fans, and the game was back and forth, and Tia was down by 20 at one point. Just the thoughts in the game, both of you. Like, what went wrong, and what do you think about the Edward Little fans and coaches? And I know that TA's had some issues with the fan section this year, but looking at what happened in that game, what are your thoughts?
I'll let Cole go first on this one.
Well, I thought it was personally really fun to watch. It was very entertaining.
You would.
Yeah. But I thought the Edward Little coaches, they were on the floor too much. I hate to complain about the other team's coaches, but I did think that they were kind of overboard and even like hyping up some of their fans and stuff like that. But both teams really had to just like fight mentally just to stay in that game. There were so many circumstances off the floor with the fans and everything, but the teams did a nice job just staying calm for the most part. And I give credit to John Shea. It looked like he was really able to calm his team down and lead them to a win. Yep. And credit to TA for coming back. I know they came up short, but 22-6 is a huge deficit, and then they were down 17 at the half. And I think they learned a lot from that game.
I've never seen anything like it in all the years I've watched high school sports. So the game itself, I mean, the atmosphere obviously took a toll because Edward Little should have won that game by 15 or 20 points. They're way better than TA, talent-wise and whatever. As you said, up by 17.5, but they let the outside noise get to them. And that's why the only reason it was a close game, really. And credit for TA. There was one time, again, we'll talk about the other stuff in a second, but there's one time where I think we were down 2 points with like 4.5 minutes ago, and Cody Ruff had a kind of a gimme layup, but just missed it. And that was the one time we really had a chance to tie it, and we never tied it, and obviously didn't take the lead. So again, credit to Edward Little, but I think, like you said, our fans have had some issues earlier. Sanford game was not great, not a good look for the school. But yeah, you look at, compared to last night. Okay, last night, similar thing. Our rival in Bonnie Eagle, tough game the whole time. But their coach John Trolls, a TA alum, kept his guys in control. And when you have the coach who's not making the situation worse. And what you saw with Edward Little is their coaches were on the refs from the get-go. And I know there's a lot of stuff on social media. There's a video of Cody Ruff with push on Shea. Was it a flop? Was it should he be ejected? Whatever. It's so tough to take one little moment from one specific angle, because again, if you're the official, from behind, it doesn't look as bad if you're behind the play than when you're looking at it there. Anyway, like there were so many other things going on in that game. The coaches, the not only the head coach for Edward Little, but the assistant coaches are out of control, pumping up the crowd every time there was something. And the funny thing is, like the fans who got ejected from right behind the Edward Little bench weren't even fighting with the TA fans. They were fighting with the refs. They said something to the referees, and that's why they got kicked out. And then what happened at the end of the game was just ridiculous. And the thing about it is, we get a lot of we've got a lot of messages from people this year saying our fans are out of control, and they're not wrong, but it's everywhere. I mean, it's in Maine, it's all over the country that young people and normal fans too. You're seeing it are just because of COVID or whatever else, they're doing things that they never did before. And so I think that game especially showed that it's not, because I thought our students handled it pretty well, considering, really yes, they, at the end of the game, it's like they were basically challenged. The kid kicks the ball up to the ceiling and basically walks within 5 feet of the student section. They're going to respond. So I think that it was disappointing because it could have been a really great game. And I know there was some social media post about Shea that they found, that they maybe used as motivation. But for me, it's like, that's not an excuse to treat. It's a regular season high school basketball game. That's what I would have said if I was the refs to the Edward Little coaches. Like, relax. Like, this is not life or death. This isn't even the state championship. It's just too bad. I mean, and glad nothing major happened. But it was embarrassing to watch. I know. It was just, it was exciting. I understand the exciting part. But for me, I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. So it's a learning experience for everybody. And for me, it was a little more of an indication. Like, look, you may want to, the people who watch our fans, our students may say they've crossed the line, and they do sometimes. But like, this is everywhere. You see stories all over the country of fans getting in fights. There was a fight at the NFC Championship game. Some guy gets in a coma now. Some fan got punched, which happens once in a while, but you're seeing it every week now. So people are just angry at the world for being locked up for 2 years. So anyway, that's what my takeaway was. Edward Little, good for them. They got the win. They should have won by way more. I know. And if they would have been up by 10 or 15, then I don't think much of that stuff happens. So tough game for the officials, though. You know what I mean? Like, that is not an easy game. Super physical. Both teams are throwing some bows here and there. So I don't think they'll meet again because I don't see TA getting the states, but good on Edward Little for getting the win, but a ridiculous situation.
Yeah, I definitely, just to add, I think that, at this point, I think fans are smart enough to realize that if they continued on the road they are, there won't be fans at games, and you won't be able to enjoy it anymore. And so I think people are smart enough to realize that we want to be able to go, so let's tone it down a little bit.
Throw a tee early in the game. That was the only thing that I fault the officials for. If you would have teed up Coach Mike Adams for Edward Little early in the game, just to tell, hey, get your coaches under control, because they're not supposed to come on the floor at all. That totally changed the situation. Once they teed him up later in the game, he was pretty fine for the rest of it. So
we'll switch over to girls basketball, who's had a little bit of a better second half of the season.
Why? How'd they get motivated? I wonder.
So you may have missed it. About a month ago, I made a earth-shattering comment here on our Trojan Talk podcast saying that I didn't believe they were state championship contenders. It kind of spread around the team, and I think they've used it as motivation.
I saw your face on a dartboard out here somewhere.
I know. Yeah, 13-4, 8-1 their last 9 games, playing fantastic, and going to have a home playoff game soon that we're going to be able to broadcast. But I personally think it's a state championship year for them. I
There
think
we
they
go.
There we go.
I think they have
All
a good
right.
year, but I want to ask you guys, like, is there I mean, first off, do you believe that they are state championship contenders? But was there a moment for you, either of you, and we'll start with Cole on this one, that you said, this is, they're playing really good now. This is a good team.
Well, winning 6 in a row is definitely a good sign over the last half of the season. Maybe we should say something about the boys' team to get them motivated.
Yeah.
Should say they're not a state contender, and then they'll all hear that and then start playing really well. But yeah, the girls, you look at Gorham though, and Gorham is just too good of a team. I think Gorham's beat them twice, right? I believe.
Yep.
And Gorham's going to be standing in their way. You're going to have to go through them. But I think the girls can make a deep playoff run, and they're going to have to make a big upset in the playoffs. But I think if they have a good shooting day versus Gorham, they can definitely take down a really good team like them. But I think they'll probably fall just short of the state championship, but they've been playing really, really well, so you have to give credit to them.
I think contenders is a good word. I don't think they're favorites by any means. I mean, look, this is a team I think that could make a run to the state championship, or they could lose in the first round. I could definitely see that, and I only say that because of experience. A few years ago, when they were basically the 1 or 2 seed, like 4 or 5 years ago, and they lost in an upset in the first round because. I mean, it's a little different now because the quarterfinals are at the home site now, whereas before it was at the Expo or the Cross Insurance Arena, which is just a totally different atmosphere. I think the big moment, I mean, it wasn't one big moment. It's like when they got everyone back. I mean, they spent the first half of the season with not a full lineup, and now they're back. So, I mean, you talk about Gorham, and they're definitely the favorites, but they've had some weird losses too. And again, you're still in this COVID era where anything can happen. In terms of one girl goes out and it could change the whole thing. So, I think for TA, it comes down to Sulikowski in the shooting. I mean, she had a good game last night against Bonnie Eagle as well. I was talking to Coach Marston last night. He said he thinks Bonnie Eagle's going to be who they're going to play next week in their first round game. So we'll catch that on. I think it's going to be Wednesday doubleheader for live streaming. So, but yeah, I mean, they're definitely contenders. But it's just they're going to have to shoot the ball well, and we've seen them, too, get a little frustrated if things aren't going that well, and they can let up a big run on the other end. So just keeping their cool, I think they can definitely do it. But I would say they're definitely in that second tier of Class AA. That could happen, but I still would put Scarborough or Gorham near the top there.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I was telling you this the other day, was that, Massabesic, pretty good team, kind of sitting around that 4 or 5 seed. Goes out and beats Gorham, and then goes out and beats Scarborough, and you're like, oh, they're good. And then TA goes out and wins by 16 points, and that's more of an idea, like, oh yeah, we can beat any team, but they can beat any team. They lost to Gorham, but I think Gorham's beatable. I think that it's going to probably come down to a Class AA South final between Gorham and TA is going to have to play well.
You just want to get that 3 seed.
Yeah,
you don't want to have to play Gorham in the second round because you just avoid them as long as possible. Why not?
But I think the one good thing looking at this program is next year, like Sulikowski's a sophomore, Dow, Cook, they're juniors. This is going to be, you look at all these teams like Gorham that have almost all seniors, and T is like the only one that has some depth. So they'll be extremely good next year. But very very excited to watch and broadcast those playoff games. We're going to move over to hockey really quick. 8-2 season so far. We've done a couple games. Jeff, really quick, what is your What's been so special about this team? We talked about them having up and down years, but this year obviously an up season. What's so special?
I mean, they have a couple superstars. Alex St. John. When he's playing, they go to a different level. And we saw a game that he didn't play, one of our live streams there, and it definitely affected the way that they played. So, they definitely could win the states. I haven't seen from the highlights or anything anybody who really sticks out from the other teams. For them, it comes down to goaltending is a huge part of it when it gets into the playoffs. I've seen teams before that. Have a great game, score 2 or 3 goals, but their goalie has a bad night, gives up 4 or 5, and boom, that's it. And the big thing that we've seen too is penalties. Like you cannot. I mean, they put themselves in. I think we're cursed. I think they're like, are they 0-2 when we've done 3 games? I think they're 1-2 when we've broadcasted.
Both of the losses.
Yeah, and almost all the time is because of penalties. They're just getting themselves in the box. So keeping discipline is a huge thing, and I think. Again, I'm not ready to crown them yet to be the favorites because I've seen this before, and not these specific players, obviously, but other teams, hockey teams in the past that come in the regular season with some great stuff, but the playoffs are just a whole different thing. But, the fact that they're not going to the Colisee this year for the playoffs, the Cross Insurance Arena maybe helps them. It's a shorter trip, more familiar surroundings for them if they go to Mariners games or whatever. So, but yeah, I think they just need to finish strong, hopefully get that 1 or 2 seed and just get a bye, which will really help.
Yeah. And just lastly, I want to ask you guys both a little odd question here. If you could just pick a matchup, like, and you pick it and it gets played in the basketball playoffs, any, girls, boys, any game you'd like to see, which two teams would you like to see play again?
I want a rematch of that preseason game between South Portland boys basketball and Nokomis, because I saw the highlights. It was basically Estrella versus Flag.
Yep.
The highlights look ridiculous. It looked like a state championship game, the way that those guys are going at each other. So, I mean, they're two of the best players we've seen in Maine in a long time. They're both very likely not to be here next year because they're going to go prep. So, yeah, that 100%, I want to see that. I want to see that game, and I would go to it in person if I could. Yeah. Also, a little sneaky one is I wish Thursday, like tomorrow, that TA at Sanford boys basketball, that's going to be an interesting game too, because if TA wins, they can maybe sneak up to the 3 or even the 2 seed, depending on how things fall out. And obviously, we had such a, Sanford hit, 13 threes in the last matchup and kind of upset TA here, and there was a lot of fan stuff too. I can't go to the game, but I wish I could.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we're lucky that we get to see that matchup tomorrow, TA and Sanford. Just a huge game. But I completely agree with the Nokomis and South Portland. That would be absolutely crazy. I mean, you see the highlights from that game. That gym was packed for just a preseason game. And if you put that with, like, a playoff environment and everything like that, it would be absolutely crazy. We would definitely see some big dunks and highlights from Cooper Flag and JP Estrella. So
I think the MPA should just make a one-time thing. It's like, you know what? The champion of AA plays the champion of A this year. Let's just do it once.
That would be cool. I think for me, it's probably either seeing Edward Little and TA play again.
I don't want to not at our gym.
But I think it's different in the Crush Insurance Arena because fans aren't that close to the court.
Well, see, the thing is, though, I think that if that game plays, Edward Little wins by 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I think the only reason that that game was close was not the only reason. One of the big reasons was because the atmosphere and Edward Little just kind of had a moment, but I could see that. It'd be interesting.
South Portland EL would be good too because JP
that might be the state championship game.
Well, that's going to do it for TA Sports. Now we're going to switch it over and talk about some professional sports.
So we got the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Oh, is that this Sunday? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big game, I would say. Super Bowl Sunday, 6:30 p.m., Cincinnati and LA. Cincinnati with a Cinderella run. They go through the Raiders, the Titans, and the Chiefs, and then the Rams beat the Niners in the NFC Championship. So first off, your game picks, and what would it mean for each team to win the Super Bowl?
I mean, Cincinnati hasn't made the Super Bowl since
88 or something.
Yeah, that would be big. I mean, I've been seeing all these things on social media. It's like when Joe Burrow shows up in a nice, outfit and some nice Cartier glasses, they're gonna win the game. I think the Rams have it. I think it's gonna be an offensive game rather than a defensive game, but 34-27, something like that. But I think it would mean a lot for the Rams, especially guys like OBJ. Like, it's just, hey, I won, now I can retire, or now I can, not say I haven't gotten to that mark yet. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a good game. I'm excited to watch it, but it's not the same as, like, Brady or Rodgers or something else like, that being in there, or Mahomes and Brady going up against each other again. So I wish it was like that, but not my favorite Super Bowl to watch. Also.
No, I'm not super excited about it, and I feel like I'm getting this malaise now the Patriots have, like, no chance to make the Super Bowl for a while. As far as the game goes, I think it's going to be Rams 30-17. We were talking about last night off the air, just it's the offensive line of Cincinnati versus the defensive line of the Rams is the biggest mismatch of the whole playoff season, maybe. Aaron Donald's going to just destroy them, I think. So I think that's the thing. As far as what it means, I mean, Cincinnati mean everything. I mean, they haven't, it's been so long since they've even been there. But it means more to the Rams because if you're Cincinnati, if they lose, they're still going to be one of the favorites next year, and they got Burrow, and they got a lot of guys. The Rams are all in. They don't have a first-round pick until 2024. So I don't care about OBJ, by the way. I'm thinking about Aaron. The only one I'm like, okay, Aaron Donald will be nice to get, a ring for him. I think Stafford is shown to be a very good quarterback. I think, I think most quarterbacks would be pretty good with those kind of weapons. So for them, it means a lot more because, first of all, for McVay, if he gets there twice and loses, when he has the better team, like no question, he has the better team on paper this time, and probably even last time against the Patriots. That's not a good look for him. And also, just in general, they went all in. I don't think they can bring everyone back next year, and if they can't get it done, then that won't look good on them. As far as the city, who cares? Like, LA doesn't care. That's going to be mostly Bengals fans there, so I have no interest in the fans there at all. But the game, I hope it's a good game, but I think it's going to be not a blowout, but 2-touchdown comfortable win for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, imagine telling yourself at the beginning of the season that the Cincinnati Bengals would be in the Super Bowl.
Burrow, second-year player coming off an ACL. Yeah, sure, yeah. In that division, too.
I know. I thought they were probably going to finish last in their division.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of AFC North fans are not exactly happy that the Bengals are sneaking into the Super Bowl this year. But if you're Cincinnati, I don't think you can survive getting sacked 9 times again.
No.
Yep.
Your chances of winning obviously go down drastically if that happens. And I mean, I think Chase and Burrow could just take over the game. They have an insane chemistry. But if you look on the other side, the Rams might even have a better version of that with Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has been so clutch in this postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting for him to kind of fall off, and he hasn't. He's just been continued to be extremely clutch. And I think people are really realizing the actual talent of Matthew Stafford, and that, when you give him a superstar receiver like Calvin Johnson and then this year Cooper Kupp, he can make them really good. And I think that if Stafford wins this game, and if the Rams win this game and Stafford plays well, Stafford is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, God, no.
I think he is.
No chance.
I don't know.
Well, I'll say no chance, but he still has a few more years.
Depends how you look at it, because or what the class, like the Hall of Fame classes are the next few years.
I guess.
I don't know. Like, he didn't do much in Detroit. Like, it's one Super Bowl.
He wasn't able to make a really bad team good, which is for me important.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, he's still fairly young. He's in his early 30s. So if he goes out and wins 2 Super Bowls, then 2 is like the number. Like we win 2, you're in.
Yeah.
Obviously, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I just hope everyone stays healthy, because I could definitely see a situation where Burrow goes down in the first quarter, and then it's like, this game's over. Because if he goes down,
Who's their backup? I don't even know.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Ryan Allen, yeah, one of those, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so, and if Burrow wins, you have to put him in the Mahomes, Josh Allen category. That would just be so huge for him.
Yeah.
And another thing, Tom Brady went to a new team, wins a Super Bowl for the first year. Stafford could do the same thing. What does that mean for a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson that could switch teams and go to a contender and win?
It all depends where they go. I mean, if Rodgers goes to Denver, then I win a Super Bowl next year. I mean, everybody loves Denver. Like, they're just a quarterback away. I'm like, I think they're more than that. You know what I mean? So, for Rodgers, for Wilson, I mean, again, it all depends on the destination. I don't see many destinations out there that are just a quarterback away, except for Miami. But I don't know. I don't see them. But with a first-year head coach, I don't see that either. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. But, I mean, Stafford went to a great situation, as did Brady. He went to basically the most talented team in the NFL. Yeah. It'd be like, Rodgers going to, I don't even know who, would need a quarterback, but just a super talented team that just needs somebody else. But
yeah, real quickly, your thoughts on the Bruins season. And it sounds like Tuukka Rask is not going to continue playing for the Bruins this year.
Yeah, not too good. I don't know if you guys saw the game last night, but Bergeron goes down, concussion, most likely out for a few games. Marchand punches a goalie and then sticks him in the face. That'll be probably 10 or 15 games. And then Rask.
You can't do that?
No.
You can't punch him and then stick him in the face?
No, and the Players Association hates Marchand already, so it's not going to go well. It sucks, but we're sitting in idle time here before the trade deadline. The Bruins have already said we're going to make moves. We're going to get some good guys. So I'll just wait, and hopefully they can just win a couple, lose a couple, just kind of stay that way until the end. But it is what it is. We move on.
Zach is happy. You can tell how happy he is because he hated the Rask experiment and it's failing, and he loves it.
But I think that Rask is being smart. He knows that, he's injured again. It's not going to work out. The cap that they're wasting on him, which isn't that much, it's just actually they don't need. And he's going to retire saying, yeah, I tried. I played a couple games. I didn't play very well. Whatever. Yeah,
so real quickly again, NBA trade deadline soon approaching. There was a pretty big trade yesterday. Multiple players involved, but mainly Domantas Sabonis going to Sacramento, and then Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield going to Indiana. I think it's a big W for Indiana. I am shocked that they traded Halliburton. I thought his value was going to be a little higher than that. He was really the steal of the draft a couple years ago. So what are your thoughts? Who wins the trade?
I think Indiana wins a trade and the Celtics lose the deadline because they did nothing. Nothing. Do something. Do you get better or get worse?
Well,
they could
tomorrow
still
morning.
definitely.
Yeah, true. But it just,
I think Indiana needed that because Sabonis and Miles Turner are playing the same position. It doesn't work. Same thing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I've been saying this all year.
Scores.
Yeah, but they got some space now and a lot of young guys and a ton of cap space. So maybe the Indiana Pacers will try to pull somebody else up. But Indiana wins. The Kings make another stupid trade.
And I don't think Harder Simmons goes anywhere. I think they stay put.
Yeah, and they still have Marvin Bagley, who they've been trying to get rid of for 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
All right, so that's going to do it for professional sports. A lot is happening. Super Bowl this weekend. So, Zach, you want to close it out?
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching the 15th episode of Trojan Talk. We'll be back soon with our 16th episode, and stay tuned for next week. We have most likely a doubleheader, I think, on Wednesday for boys basketball and girls basketball playoffs. Thank you all for watching.